Kansas City. Over or under is 65. Kevin, you in the chat room? Is Kevin in the chat room? Kevin's coming up next, followed by Arnie. So that's how it works. And don't forget, we got a lot to do, man. Got a lot to do. Kevin coming up next. Arnie will be following. And 65%. 65 games is the over-under. Okay? See, by the way, has anybody got the chat room? I mean, the draft guide. Let me tell you something. Nobody could be as proud. It's like watching your kid score the game-winning goal. All right? I watched Andy work on this thing, and I got to tell you something. I am so proud of her effort and so proud of what she has produced. I really hope you'll take a look at it. If you're in the chat room, the discount code, Andy put the discount code up because you'll get 30%. I mean, 30, come on, you're going to get money. It's $14 if you paid full price. So here, take 30% off. It's on me, okay? Order the draft guide, take a look at it, and, comment. All right? You're next. That's right. Kevin is next. All right? So thank you, Jay Bass, for being here. Thanks. I know Big Al ordered it. DK Lush ordered it. Order the draft guide if you can. It's really a labor of love. And, next year we'll improve on it. And, next year you could all be part of it if you want. Whatever you want. It's all about that. It's never about, look, it's not going to change anybody's life, all right? But she worked very hard, and I'm very proud of her. All right, Kansas City, let's take a look at what they got, what they're going to give us this year. Over at first base, a very disappointing player at first base, and I'm talking about Ryan O'Hearn. I had a lot of hope that Ryan O'Hearn would actually be somebody, okay? But to think of O'Hearn, it's tough. It's really tough. Ryan O'Hearn. I'm not really sure what to make of him, okay? But if I told you that 15 home runs is probably what you're going to get at him, I'm trying to come up with a batting average for Ryan O'Hearn. As I'm looking at him now, just taking a look. I've done this before. We even have him in the draft guide. But I'm taking a look at Ryan O'Hearn as a player that's going to hit me. All right, here's what I got. Here's right. After careful consideration, 230. Right? I mean, the guy's 6'3", 225. I love the way he looks. 26 years old. He came back down to earth. Right? Impressed in 2018, but then he got slotted into a platoon role. I mean, look, lackluster. He had hit 195 with 14 home runs. He only played 105 games. After he hit 12 homers in 44 games the year prior. So Kaufman Stadium, don't forget, that's a tough stadium. It saw the second fewest home runs in the league last year. But O'Hearn, he didn't hit for power on the road either, so I'm not using that. He only had a 230 BABIP, and he deserved to hit a little bit more. So I'll say 230, and I'll give him 15 to 18 home runs. That's my Ryan O'Hearn, okay? You got that? Ryan O'Hearn, first base. There are plenty of times that I believe in taking that kind of a mediocre first baseman, not spending my money on the big first baseman. I want to spend my money on power speed guys. Now, Nicky Lopez, when he came up last year, he came up in that crowd with Riley, and it was a week that so many different rookies came up, so many different youngsters. But Lopez came up, and at the time, I thought he was going to be the best of the bunch. And he was not the best of a bunch. I looked at him as a stolen base threat. He's 24. He made his major league debut. That was in the middle of May. He put on a tremendous clinic where he walked almost 15% of the time, only struck out 3.5% of the time in Double-A. He took the starting job at second base. Also saw some time at shortstop when Mondesi went on the injured list. He made 100 starts in total, and he was kind of mediocre. So Kansas City in full rebuild mode, lack of depth. Lopez is going to be an everyday player. He'll hit you 270. Not a lot of home runs, 2 or 3, 4 home runs. And I'm thinking when I take a look at his record, and he's got 24-14 in the stolen base category. When I say 24, he was 24 out of 28. Then he was 14 out of 22. And that's a big deal. Anytime you look at stolen bases, just don't look at the steals. And Andy, in the draft guide, she went into that with be careful of players who get caught stealing a lot. So there's a whole big thing about players who's really, they may have a lot of steals, but their track record, including getting caught stealing, is a big-time negative. So I think Nicky Lopez will not steal the amount of bases that I originally thought. I'm giving him 7 to 10. Possibility that he could do better, but that depends on how many times he gets caught. Okay, over at shortstop, what do you say? I don't have to tell you about Mondesi. He's still available in our mock draft, and he's not getting bid up yet. But here's a guy who's going to steal you 35 bases, no question about it, because that's his game. That's what he does. See, with Lopez, he's more of a get-on-base guy. Mondesi, who's, still so very young. He came up so early. He's only 24, had a shoulder injury last year. There were some people who last year thought he'd steal 60, 70 bases. He's going to wind up hitting about 260 with double-digit home runs, and he'll get you 35 stolen bases, a very big pick. Because if he was an outfielder, I wouldn't go after him so bad, because you don't get the RBIs. But as an infielder, he'll get you 70 RBIs. That's just as good as anybody else in the infield for the most part. He'll get you 35 to 40 steals. Mondesi, he's not that one-trick pony because he's able to hit you 13 to 15 home runs. And in his minor league career, he's got 14 home runs in Kansas City in 2018. And we're projecting him to do about 15 for this year. But we don't know if he was benefited by the ball, all right? The ball. It's guys like this that you just don't know about the ball, right? Did he get 13 home runs last year because of the ball? I'm not saying the baseball. If it was a football, I'd say because of the football, but I'm not saying that. Anyway, he's a great pick. If you need the stolen bases, then just get him. Over at third base, here we go. Miguel Franco. We have tried to get Miguel Franco off the ground, and we have not done it at all. He's going to play every day. Yep, that's right. He's going to play every day. Miguel Franco is going to play third base for this ball club, and he's going to play every day. Now, what is he going to do for you? Probably more than Philadelphia would like to see. That's for sure. Franco's going to hit you about 250, 20 to 25 home runs, 60 to 70 RBIs. He's 27. He's coming into his peak power year. He received a lot of playing time for a third baseman with poor defensive reputation and couldn't hit. But they stuck with him. Okay? They stuck with him. And I think that now that they traded him, his BABIP was very bad. BABIP was about 236. So, look, but he's the kind of player that every year his BABIP is low. So, I'm not saying he had bad luck, but I'm saying he could do a lot better. Don't forget Kevin coming up next, and then Arnie right after Kevin. All right, over at the outfield, let's take a look at this outfield for Kansas City. Is there anybody in the Kansas City outfield who floats your boat? Not even going to talk about Alex Gordon, but we will talk about Bubba Starling, Whit Merrifield, Hunter Dozier, and Jorge Soler. Soler had the most home runs that were just, I forget what they called them, but home runs that as soon as he hit it, everybody knew it was a home run. He led the league in that. The most... there's a phone call. Let's see who this is from. So, Soler, UPS, USB, I ain't taking it, all right? Let's take it, okay? Hello? You've been trying to reach me. But you have failed. You're a piece of garbage for calling me. Hang up the freaking phone and don't call me again. And now back to the podcast. Yeah, so Solar um, had the most home runs that you knew was gone right away. Hunter Dozier moved to third from third base to the outfield. Hunter Dozier is going to give you the following numbers, and I don't think he was a fluke. Don't think he was a fluke. So Hunter Dozier, in my humble opinion, is going to hit you 23, 24 home runs. He'll hit you 260, 6'4", 220. He's 28 years old. He did have a lackluster 2018. Things didn't look good for him. But last year he had a sore back and still produced. Had a very productive April. Got off to a good start where he hit almost 350, and he just kept rolling along. Hunter Dozier. Now, Merrifield is another guy. If he's got infield, he's second baseman. He's on the same line as Mondesi. He's going to hit you 300. He's going to get you 15 homers and steal you 30 bases. He ranked among the top 40 hitters in fantasy baseball last year, but he was a second rounder. Okay, yeah, he's a second round pick. Okay, and he got it. Look, 31 stolen bases. Let's see, he had 20 last year. So last year he was a disappointment. So his value will be suppressed based upon last year and the fact that he's 31. He stole 45 and 34 the 2 years before. Last year, full season, 680 at bats. He only stole 20. I will take the position that he'll be back up to 30 this year. And that's with Merrifield. Don't you love those spam callers? I mean, don't you just love them? And they used a number this time that I don't answer it. But they used a number this time that I thought was UPS. So there you go. You learn every day. Now the only one I didn't talk about was Bubba Starling. How do you fail with the name of Bubba? I mean, you should have played football maybe. I don't know. Bubba Starling, give me a break, man. Bubba Starling. I don't know what to do with this guy. He was supposed to be something. That's why he was such a high draft pick. But let me give you numbers for Bubba Starling. It's just in your kitchen table. Hit you 245. Hit you 10 homers. Will steal you 5 bases. There you go. Okay, 5th overall selection in 2011. Finally reaching the majors. He's a great athlete, but he's not been able to put together his baseball skills at high levels. He had good success at AAA, but he was overmatched. Let's see what he can do. The catcher, of course, on this team, one of the best catchers in baseball, but he's going to be traded. Once he establishes his health, he's going to be traded. What is that? What kind of picture is that? Okay, is that me? What? Andy putting up pictures of me in the chat room. And Bubba Morton, that's right. Bubba Chapman. Starling Chapman. Now, you got me all flustered, Andy, with your pictures. Okay? All right, now. The catcher is going to be traded. There'll be a lot of teams in contention looking to trade for the Kansas City catcher, who, of course, Salvador Perez. There's no question about it. The pitching staff, I can't recommend anybody except maybe Danny Duffy, Brad Keller. Ian Kennedy's going to be the closer for now. You have to spend. Greg Holland's on this team also. Take a flyer pick with Greg Holland to get some saves if Ian Kennedy falters or is traded. Ian Kennedy could be traded. I'll just tell you about Keller and Duffy, and then we'll call it a day. We'll give you the prospects. Got some good prospects here. In terms of Keller and Duffy, they're not going to take your fit. You want to get somebody who's not going to hurt you at this point, okay? As far as Danny Duffy's concerned, much better was expected of him. I'm thinking of Duffy to give you a 4.2 ERA, 1.3 whip, 125 strikeouts. Brad Keller, the newcomer, and we'll talk a little bit more about Brad Keller. But Brad Keller is going to give you a 4 ERA, 1.35 whip. He's 24 years old, maybe 130 strikeouts. In terms of prospects, Bobby Witt Jr. is going to be the shortstop, but he's 19, not yet. Other guys that could emerge this year, nobody that jumps off the page. Kyle Isbell is 20.